How's it going, everybody? Yuji here, and they finally released the hero talents for Retribution. Both the Holy Retribution and the Prot Retribution have been released. So I'm just going to go into them and talk about what I think about them. So right off the bat, we're going to be talking about the Herald of the Sun, which is the Holy Retribution tree. So the first thing is we get Sunspot. Wake of Ashes causes your next two Holy Power spending abilities to create a Sunspot on your target, dealing radiant damage or healing over 8 seconds. And then 10% of the damage is AoE and radiates to nearby targets. So we're not going to really talk about this yet. We'll go over the rest of the talents before actually talking about the sunspots. But it is kind of determinative on how hard these sunspots are going to be actually hitting. Because if they're just like another expurgation, that's pretty boring. But if they're they're actually a real dot that actually does damage, that could be pretty cool. The only other thing is, so it's being procced by your hits after Wake of Ashes. So Divine Storm would probably be best if you're trying to hit as many people as possible, which you'll do if Sunspot actually does decent damage. And the other interesting thing is there's also the healing part of it. So I wonder if it's going to actually heal a lot, because you could save it for a defensive go and use it with Wog, but I'm not sure how good that's going to end up being, especially because you're doing it after Wake of Ashes, which kind of is your big damn go. Oh, but you could do it with the Divine Storm proc on Templars from Empyrean Legacy. I don't remember what it's called, but you could do that, and you get the single target one Templars out, and you still get the AoE from Divine Storm, so you're hitting a lot of other people with it too. So that could actually be pretty cool, but it would kind of make you have to make sure to play that. I mean, save that for when you have your Wake of Ashes. That could be kind of cool. Next one, we're going to be going just like down the rows, not like side to side, I think. So next one is Morning Star. Every 5 seconds, your next Sunspot's damage or healing is increased by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. So that means it would take 50 seconds to actually get the max value from it. And so, but Wake of Ashes is going to be happening every 30 seconds, so that means you're going to be getting 30% damage buff from it. Not sure how good that's going to be. Kind of depends on how hard Sunspot's going to be hitting, because maybe that 30% buff is going to be pretty significant. Also, I wonder if it'll stack in the gates, because if you can start the game with a fully stacked one, that could be kind of OP. The next one is Gleaming Rays. When a Sunspot is activated, your Holy Power spenders deal 10% additional damage or healing. Okay, this just sounds infinitely better. I don't like Sunspot's gonna have to be hitting like a truck for the top one to ever be taken, because this bottom one just sounds so much better. It's just 10% damage buff to Templar's Divine Storm. That seems very OP. The only annoying thing is Sunspot would activate after the Templar, so the first Templar is after Wake of Ashing. Using Wake of Ashes is gonna not have the 10% damage buff from Gleaming Rays, which is kind of annoying. Maybe they'll change how the interaction actually works, but we'll have to see. But yeah, for this one, it's probably gonna be Gleaming Rays every single time, unless Sunspot's hitting like a truck. Illuminate. Sunspots reduce the movement speed of enemies by 50% and increases the movement speed of allies by 20%. This seems pretty good. So it makes it so that whenever you Templars, it turns Templars into a 50% slow when after you Wake of Ashes, which is kind of cool. Or you could use Divine Storm to AoE slow people. And also, it increases the movement speed of your allies by 20%. I wonder what the range of that is gonna end up being. That's kind of important, because is it based on the location of the dot, or when you hit it, does it give like an AoE just like thing, like a rally that hits everyone nearby and gives them 20% speed? Also, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how that actually works, but that could be really good because, I don't know, just 20% movement speed buff for your entire team on your goes can be very good. You know, you're playing Ret Warrior, Warrior gets a bit more damage, gets a bit more uptime, or you're playing Ret Hunter, and your Hunter gets the ability to kite a lot more because you're moving 20% faster. That could be kind of good. Then there's Will of the Dawn, movement speed increased by 5% while above 80% health. And when your health is brought below 35%, your movement speed is increased by 40% for 5 seconds. This sounds terrible. So if you're getting trained, 90% of the time, this thing is useless, and you only eventually ever, once in a while, get a 40% damage buff, or 40% movement speed buff when dropped under 35%. This just looks, okay, Illuminate just looks infinitely better. It's kind of weird because we've only gone through 2 optional talents, and both of them have one that is just definitely infinitely better than the other one. It's kind of weird. Next up, after you wake up ashes, gain divine purpose. Okay. So pretty much makes it so that your next Templars is going to be hitting. I don't know what divine purpose is modifier is now. They've changed it so many times, but it says usually 15%. I don't know what it actually is, but it pretty much just makes it so that you get a free and slightly increased damage Templars right after your wake up ashes, which is pretty good. So that way you can wake up ashes just double Templars right off the bat. This will probably be really good if you're playing Final Rec without the talent that gives you Holy Power, which is kind of what you're doing right now. I don't know, this seems pretty good. Just free Holy Power spenders. And now we'll go to the next row, which is Eternal Flame. Places Wog. Heals an ally immediately and an additional and over an additional 20 seconds. Healing is increased by 25% when cast on self. So they're kind of just making Wog good? I wonder, I mean, it's gonna definitely depend on how hard Wog's actually hitting and how much this additional healing over 20 seconds is actually gonna heal for. But this seems pretty decent. The next one is Eternal Sunspot. Sunspot's duration is increased by 2 seconds, and Eternal Flame's duration is increased by 3 seconds. What's Eternal Flame? Oh, Eternal Flame is the Wog heal. Okay, so it increases the hot by 3 seconds. And also it makes it so that Sunspot is up for longer, so you'll be getting that movement speed from slow from Illuminate for a little bit extra time, and you'll be getting more value from Gleaming Rays. That's interesting. And the other one is Sunspot leaves an eternal flame for 12 seconds on allies or a greater judgment on enemies when they expire or are extended. So reapplying or letting eternal flame ends applies judgment on the target. I don't know how helpful that's going to be. I think that the other, just the increased duration, might end up being better. But it kind of just depends on how valuable Judgment's going to be it kind of just depends on how valuable it's going to be pressing Judgment next expansion, which is kind of hard to say right now because we don't know the numbers. But right now, Eternal Sun looks like it's probably going to be better, but Lingering Radiance has potential at least. Next up, we have Solar Grace. Your haste is increased by 4% for 12 seconds each time you apply a sunspot. Multiple stacks may overlap. So that means if you apply it with a Divine Storm and you hit a ton of targets, you're getting like 4 or 5 stacks of this, which is just going to give you a 16 to 20% increase in haste every time you use the sunspot for 12 seconds, and you can apply it pretty much every 30 seconds or so. Okay, so this is kind of insane. Yeah, imagine your haste with Crusade up and like 10 stacks of sunspot. Holy, you're gonna be hitting so fucking fast. How many would that? That would be 40% haste plus, I think it's like 30% from Crusade. That's like, you get a double Crusaded haste because of this stuff. That's kind of crazy. And I personally, I love my haste on Ret Paladin. This seems actually pretty insane, I've got to say. Next up, we have Luminosity, which will increase the critical strike chance of Hammer Wrath and Divine Storm by 10%. What's the point in increasing the critical strike chance of Hammer of Wrath when we have a talent that makes it so that it has a 100% crit chance? That doesn't make any sense to me. You know? Maybe they're changing the talents around a bit. They're maybe going to remove that talent and replace it with something else. We'll have to see, because if they don't and you still just have that talent, this seems like it's going to be... It's either going to make that talent much more useless. Ooh, wait. Oh, that could actually make this. That could let us actually pick up Divine Storm. I love Divine Storm. Not Divine Storm, Divine Purpose. I love Divine Purpose, but we can't take it because the stupid Hammer of Wrath talent is just way too good. Then the next one is Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm critical strikes cause the target to burn for additional radiant damage over 4 seconds. Okay, so if they don't remove the talent, they're making that talent even more mandatory with this spec, actually, because you want to get the guaranteed crits from it, which is really annoying. So there goes my whole Divine Purpose dreams. All gone. Once again, kind of depends on how hard this dot's gonna actually hit for, because if it doesn't do anything, who cares? Next up, Second Sunrise. Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm have a 50% chance to cast again at 30% effectiveness. I mean, I don't really, like, okay. I don't think this really matters too much, honestly. So it's just like, it has a potential to have a 30% damage buff to your Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Doesn't matter too much. It can make your burst goes a bit stronger because with that one talent you get the free Divine Storm, so that could hit twice on a go potentially. And then, you know, Hammer Wrath is one of your main holy power generators during wings, so hitting it, I wonder if it gives you the holy power regen after casting Hammer of Wrath again. That could be kind of good. And I wonder if the extra cast of Divine Storm reduces your Hodge cooldown, or if it's going to be like Divine Purpose and not actually effective at all. But let's see the final one in this tree. Sun's Avatar. During Avenging Wrath, you become linked to your sunspots, causing radiant damage to enemies or allies that pass through the beam, reducing beyond 5 targets. Oh boy, you're gonna have to play Unbreakable Trap with Cupid, or else you will not be able to play Cupid. It's just gonna break every CC. Love to see it. Activating Avenging Wrath applies 4 sunspots onto nearby allies or enemies and increases the sunspots damage and healing by 20%. Okay, wait. Okay, so pretty much you're guaranteed to apply 4 when you press this button, because it also counts your allies. So that means when you press it, you're getting a guaranteed 16% haste buff, and also it buffs sunspot damage by 20%. Okay, so this could be really interesting, and I also wonder if it's gonna work with Aura of Reckoning, if the Wings procs will also trigger Sun's Avatar. Because if it does, that could be insane. Also, this could make short wings potentially decent, because you might be able to pull off having almost 100% uptime on your sunspots with short wings, because you'll start it off, and then when it runs out, you can Wake of Ashes. Actually, maybe you start with Wake of Ashes. I think you Wake of Ashes, and when it runs out, you wings, and then your Wake of Ashes is going to be back up by then again, I think. And then you should have a wings proc, and then you have wings back. Maybe I might be cooking a little bit too much, but this could be really insane, and you'd be having the haste buff that entire time. At least on the Wake of Ashes one, you'd be forced to toss a Divine Storm to proc it, is all. But this could be really, really interesting. My only fear is this AoE radiating bullshit that might cause it to break all CC in the entire game, making it so that Ret's forced to just play Zug damage comps forever and ever, like Ret Warrior, Ret DH, things like that, and just never play some setup things like Cupid or any other CC spec. But love to see. You know, they might do something where it doesn't break on CC, or it doesn't break CC, like they did that with the AoE Judgment Talents. I think they don't bounce to people that are in CC. So who knows? Well, it looks really cool, and it's probably I can just imagine that the animation for this is gonna be looking really badass. Yeah, this tree looks pretty cool. I'm not sure about some of the Divine Storm stuff. You know, if they make it so the Divine Storm is actually a pressable button, that's gonna be really cool, because I love having to press Divine Storm. I hate that we can't play Empyrean Legacy or whatever it is, the one that makes it that our Crusader Strike has a chance to give us Divine Storm procs. I hate that we can't play that talent, because I love pressing Divine Storm. That was like back in Legion, just Divine Storm used to hit so hard and so cool, but it just doesn't do anything. It's just not worth pressing. You're just much better off spamming Templars. But if Divine Storm works and you actually can do some like AoE cleave pressure with all these like sunspot dots and things, I might be having a lot of fun this X-Pack on Red, gotta say. But that's it for this tree. Let's now check the Templar, the Retribution Protection Paladin tree. Alright, Light's Guidance. Retribution. Wake of Ashes is replaced with Hammer of Light for 12 seconds after it's cast. Hammer of Light. Hammer down your enemies with the power of the light, dealing holy damage to the target and up to 4 nearby enemies. Additionally, calls down Empyrean hammers from the sky to strike 3 additional enemies, or 3 nearby enemies for holy damage. Cost 5 holy power. Okay, so it's like a little combo strike thing. So you use Wake of Ashes, then you can use Hammer of Light. I wonder if they'll make it so Wake of Ashes gives 5 holy power again. Haha. Probably not. Falls down Empyrean hammers from the sky. I wonder how hard those are gonna hit, and also it depends on how hard Hammer of Light actually hits. The worrisome thing is this is all just like AoE things, it seems like. So the damage itself might not be that good because it's just AoE cleave stuff. So we'll have to see on the damage numbers for that. That's very determinative on this. But let's go to the next talent. Templar's Watch. Hammer of Light and Wake of Ashes deal 30% increased damage when striking only one enemy. This amount is reduced by 6% for each additional target struck. So it's going to be really bad into pet teams and things that are going to be stacking a lot. You know, I think Wake of Ashes already technically has something like that, because Searing whatever, the triple Wake, I think is reduced significantly if you're hitting multiple people, because it hits a lot harder if you're hitting one target, it feels like. So that'll just double down on this, but it's really awkward hitting one target sometimes. You know, if you're trying to hit a Resto Druid, they have their treants around. If you're trying to hit any team that has pets, you know, there's pets everywhere. And then if you're trying to hit anything that any melee cleaves, they're just stacked. It's, you know, so, you know, I'm not sure how good this one's gonna be, but let's see the other option. Divine Toll grants up to 100% increased damage to your next 3 judgments when striking only one enemy. This amount is reduced by 20% for each additional target struck. This tree is just weird, man, because the first one, it sounds like, okay, this is just AoE, big damn stuff, you know, you're trying to cleave everything. And then they hit us with 2 talents that wants you to only hit one target. That's so weird. So this would make it so you'd probably have to drop the AoE Judgment talent, which is really unfortunate, because that provides like a lot of pressure and damage. It makes it switching a lot easier. Also, it's really important for your Crusader Strikes because it makes Crusader Strikes AoE also. Huh. I mean, I'd have to, once again, it kind of depends on how hard Judgment's actually hitting, because if it hits really hard, this could make your burst windows insane, because, you just pop a Divine Toll, you never have to press Judgment, and just during it, just throwing missiles at them with, whenever it procs your Judgment. But, I don't know, depends on how hard it's going to be hitting, because as of right now, that wouldn't be that insane. It would maybe be an extra. I mean, it depends. I think a lot of the times those Judgment procs hits for like 30 to 70k, depending on how things are going. The only one that actually hits hard is Divine Toll itself, because I think it's already buffed by its own thing. So, I mean, technically, maybe it'll make them all hit for as hard as Divine Toll, which could be pretty good, I gotta say. We'll have to see how good it is, but I don't know, this reduce AoE thing is just weird because it makes you forced to not cleave. Okay, now when you Wake of Ashes, gain Shield of Vengeance at 10% effectiveness. This sounds terrible. Who cares? Your Shield of Vengeance at 10% effectiveness? That's like a 30k shield, man. That ain't shit. That's so bad. What's the point of this? Unless like Shield of Vengeance becomes your entire health bar and then becomes a 10% shield, this is terrible. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's decent if it was that much, because I don't know. This just doesn't seem good. Let's check the next one. Endless Wrath. Calling down an Empyrean Hammer has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath and make it usable on any target regardless for health. And Empyrean Hammers proc from your Hammer of Light. Do we have anything else that procs it so far? No. So we'll get back on that later, I think. Casting Judgment increases the damage of Empyrean Hammer by 10% for 10 seconds. Multiple applications can overlap, so you can cast a ton of Judgments and it'll make your next Empyrean Hammer hit really hard. So once again, it depends on how hard Empyrean Hammer actually hits for, because we've got no clue. It doesn't give you any numbers, so it's hard to tell. Next up, Shake the Heavens. After casting Hammer of Light, you call down an Empyrean Hammer on a nearby target every 2 seconds for 8 seconds, so it gives us Divine Toll for Empyrean Hammers. They really haven't told us exactly what Empyrean Hammers are. They've given, like, it's just a holy damage that falls every once in a while, or that does damage after you use Hammer of Light, or I guess, yeah, after Hammer of Light still. Next is Higher Calling. Crusader Strike, Hammer of Wrath, and Blade of Justice extend the duration of Shake the Heavens by 1 second. So that's this thing. So you're gonna end up actually having some pretty good uptime on this, it looks like. Because, I don't know, I feel like you'll probably be getting about, every time you get it, it's gonna be about 12 seconds of uptime. Maybe, actually, wait, depends, because like, actually, the auto attack, yeah, this could actually go on for a really long time because of Crusader Strikes. It's gonna depend on how that interaction actually works, because, you auto attack about every, I feel like, second. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but that's what I'm thinking. So that would make it so that you just, okay, it can't be every second. Let's just say every 2 seconds, but that alone would increase it to 12 seconds. And then Hammer of Wrath, you can just like double Hammer of Wrath, Templars, Blade of Justice, Templars, then Hammer of Wrath again, and that's increasing it by another 4 seconds. And that makes it so that also that duration increases how many auto attacks you're getting. So you could make that 8 seconds up to like almost 20 seconds, it feels like. But once again, it completely depends on if these Empyrean Hammers are doing any damage at all. Next up, we have Hammerfall. Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm calls down an Empyrean Hammer on an enemy. Okay, so that means when you're getting that Divine Storm Templars combo, you're hitting them with 2 Empyrean Hammers. Oh, and maybe 4 Empyrean Hammers because of Shake the Heavens. Okay. Once again, this is really hard to evaluate because if these hammers hit like a truck, this is gonna be insane. But if they don't, this entire talent tree is gonna be useless. And I have a strong feeling that there is no way they're gonna make this thing hit that hard. I feel like right now, if this was in the game, it'd be hitting for like 20 Ks, which might be decent actually, because it would add an extra 40k to your Templars. It looks like. And also just periodic 20k, so this actually could be pretty good now that I'm thinking about it, but it 100% depends on how much damage these stupid hammers do. Alright, on to the next one. When Empyrean Hammer critically strikes, 60% of its damage is dealt to nearby enemies. Enemies hit by this effect deal 5% reduced damage to you for 8 seconds. Oh, so, it's only, the reduced damage is only off of the AoE thing from the crits. Okay. I don't know, it just sounds like another way to break CC randomly. Next up, Bonds of Fellowship. You receive 20% less damage from Blessing of Sacrifice each time its target takes damage. You gain 4% movement speed up to a maximum of 40%. That's weird. So you get movement speed when you use Sack. So this talent is completely useless if you're getting trained. Then Unrelenting Charger, Divine Steed lasts 2 seconds longer and increases your movement speed by an additional 30% for the first 3 seconds. Like, this also isn't that good, but it sounds better than Bonds of Fellowship. Yeah, it has better uptime too. And, I mean, and the damage you receive from Sack is just so minimal already that it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's probably Unrelenting Charger, but both of them kind of suck. Next up is Undisputed Ruling. Hammer of Light applies judgment to its target and increases your haste by 15% for 6 seconds. Wait, what was Hammer of Light? This thing? Oh, yuck. I thought it was going to be the hammers that fall. Okay, so you just, after you wake up ashes and press that button, you get 15% haste buff. I feel like the other tree just kind of does that better. But let's see what the last one is. The Light's Deliverance. You gain a stack of Light's Deliverance every time you call down an Empyrean Hammer. At 50 stacks, casting Hammer of Light empowers you for 12 seconds to cast Hammer of Light an additional time for free. Okay. Once again, depends on how hard this stuff's going to be hitting for. I really hope this tree sucks. I really do. This one is so boring and lame. I like the other tree so much better. It just seems a lot cooler with just like the way that the sunspots are going to interact with a lot of your things. Also, it's going to potentially make Divine Storm decent, which is really cool. I love pressing Divine Storm, as I said before. But I don't know, this one, actually this is the wrong one. This one, like, there's a really good chance that this one's going to be absolutely broken, and I'm going to be so sad. I feel like these hammers are going to be doing way too much damage, or Hammer of Light's going to be doing way too much damage, and it's just going to make it so you have to play this tree. And I'm going to be so sad, because the other one is so much cooler. So yeah, my overall thing is this one, Herald of Light, seems really cool. I read it initially and I didn't really like it, and then I reread it while actually recording this, and some of this sounds really cool. I like a lot of the interactions that you're going to be getting. There doesn't really seem like just a dead talent. Meanwhile, on this tree, it feels like half of these talents are just like counterproductive or dog shit or bad, but I don't know. I feel like this whole thing feels like a single target tree, and then they throw in Empyrean Hammer. And also Hammer of Light. Like, I don't know, it's just so weird. I just have a sinking feeling that this one's gonna be the one that everyone's gonna have to play, and Hammerlight's gonna be doing like insane damage, and it's just gonna make you have some insane burst, and I'm gonna be very sad. But you know, maybe they can change it. Haha, this one is really lame. Like, half of these talents are so shitty. Like, what is the point of this? Sacrosanct Crusader or Crusade. 10% Shield of Vengeance? Who cares? Shield of Vengeance already breaks in like one hit already. This thing is so bad. But yeah, hopefully Hair of the Light is good because this thing sounds really cool. That is all I will have to say. Alright, peace.